Well, we're told that our distinguished guest is ready, and he is Great Ovedje Ogboru, businessman, politician, and governorship candidate of the All Progressives Grand Alliance for the March 18th election in Delta State. Suffice to say that it's a road well traveled for Chief Ogboru, who has over the years maintained an amazing level of consistency in his desire to provide meaningful leadership for his people. Great to have you, sir. Good morning, Chief Ogboru.
Yeah, good morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you. It's a bright Saturday. Good to have you join us. All right, let's start this way.
Thank you very much.
All right, you're welcome, sir. This is your fourth attempt in your journey to try to be the governor of Delta State. Your first attempt was in 2003. You tried again in 2007, and in 2015. This is your fourth attempt, a different party. You have always used different parties. My first question to you, sir, is why do you seem to be moving from one party to the other? In 2015, it was Labour Party that you used their platform, but this time around, it's APGA. I'm sure you probably didn't see the Labour movement of today coming. So first question, why the choice of APGA? And then what are your thoughts as to the 1 week shift in the gubernatorial and House of Assembly elections? People say that when elections are moved like that, it's a lot of money for the candidates. Is that the situation for you too in Delta State?
Well, thank you very much. The first question is the movement from one party to the other. You understand that the political environment is extremely dynamic, and then there's been an evolution in the electioneering process over the years. And at certain times, some of the key actors or allies have to pull out, and then you have to reconfigure the political landscape. Frankly, the parties have only been platforms, but the ideological basis in which we have been contesting the elections in Delta State have been the same. The followership with which we moved from each of these parties has been the same. So it's not as if we are going from one party with new sets of persons. No. On the contrary, people were coming to join our movement. It's been a movement, but it was expedient at most of those times, for instance, to move from one of those parties to the other. We started from the Alliance for Democracy. There was a big crisis in that party. The party had to split. We couldn't belong to any of the factions, so we had to leave. We went to the Democratic People's Party. We stayed in that party for some time. And then the leadership of the party also disintegrated, so another movement had to take place. And then we went to the Labour. We expected then that the Labour movement was going to be more viral, but they were not. And the complaint then within the state was that we needed a bigger platform to actualize our goals. I didn't share that view, but that was the view of most of the people in Delta State. So we decided to pitch camp with the APC, which was supposedly a very big party. But the experiences in that party were such that it was clear to everybody that there was a deficit in democratic values. So we had to also leave, because the ways of doing things in that party in my state did not conform with our beliefs in democracy. And
Chief Ogboru, you permit us to just go on a brief break. When we come back, we'll pick off from where we left off. Don't go anywhere. The questions you were asking were very germane, because when we're talking about the dynamics of moving this particular election, I spoke about the fact that it's going to cost taxpayers more money.
Yes, you did.
But you've just raised a massive issue. Yeah. It's going to cost political parties more, because
it's additional 1 week.
Additional 1 week, and 1 week is a lot of time
in politics. 24 hours is a lot in politics. But a whole week
is an eternity.
Absolutely. Because the campaigns will have to continue till midnight of Thursday.
Yes.
You know, it ought to have ended last Thursday. It means that if you had tried to mobilize your agents and polling officers, etc., you will have to go through that all over again. And you can't even keep quiet, by the way. You can't say that, oh, I concluded my campaigns last Thursday. You have to decide how you will be creative with your campaigns, up till Thursday next week. It's more money, it's more energy, it's more stress, sleepless nights, and then, strategizing to make sure that you do not lose momentum.
Steve, that's why I'm so insistent.
Yes.
INEC holds Nigerians the utmost.
Absolutely. Well, we have Chief Ogboru back. Good to have you back, sir, Chief Ogboru. Will you need me to repeat the question again, or you got them the first time? All right. Okay. Thank you. So you are making.
Actually,
go on. Go on, sir. Please go on.
I was talking about the evolution. I was talking about the evolution from one political party to another, because you asked why we were moving from one party to the other. I told you that the electioneering circle in Nigeria created circumstances that made it possible or impossible to continue on the particular path. I also made the point that the political parties are actually platforms. And I also said that in Delta States, we had moved as a group consistently and not as an individual. So in each of the parties we went to, we went there with our full structure. So it's not as if one person is moving. No, we have been one group of people in Delta State who were non-conformists, who did not believe in what the government or the PDP was doing in the state. And so we stayed as an opposition. We moved from the Alliance for Democracy to the Democratic People's Party, and then to the Labour Party, and eventually to the APC. The reason we went to the APC was because people felt that we needed a bigger platform. I didn't share that view at all. But we went to the APC, and the democratic values in the party were such that we could no longer stay. And I'm talking particularly about Delta State. And now we are in the Labour Party, the APGA, having come from Labour Party previously in 2015. But you see, we have the same shared experiences or shared values between the Labour and the APGA. The Labour Party here in Delta State is actually made up mainly of persons who have worked with us before. So here, we actually believe that the difference between the Labour Party and the APGA is actually a very thin one. And yes, we believe that we have not moved because we were flirting. We moved because the circumstances created the necessity to move from one party to another.
All right.
And then you also asked.
Yes, go on with the second question, sir.
Can you repeat that?
Okay.
Yes, you also asked about the shift in the elections from 11th to the 18th. Well, it's better to put it this way. It's better late than never. If moving the election from the 11th to the 18th will make INEC do what they have said they will do in their guidelines, then so be it. Then we'll accept that as a sacrifice. But if we have to move from the 11th to the 18th and then have the same experiences again, which they call glitches in quotes, then it's rather sad. So my take is, yes, it's more expensive because we have to campaign for one more week. It's a bit dysfunctional because, yes, we have to rearrange things. But there are opportunities also there. You have to touch areas you thought you didn't do well before. So give and take, we pray that the shift turns out to be good for everybody, the cost notwithstanding.
All right, Chief Ogboru, I want to find out from you, because you mentioned 2019. You came a distant second in the 2019 polls behind Ifeanyi Okowa. You won just 2 local governments, while the governor, Ifeanyi Okowa, won 23. Put that side by side with what happened in the presidential election. How much hope has the Labour Party given to political parties in Nigeria? Because what some are describing as a political tsunami, what we saw happen, whereby Labour Party swept so many states, including Delta states. How much hope has that given to political parties going into the polls that this can be possible? And do you think that APGA has what it takes to unseat the PDP that are very strong and have been ruling for 24 years in Delta State?
Well, the first part of your question was we had two local governments as opposed to Okowa's 23. The reality of the situation is that Okowa had no votes. His votes were void. He had more votes in almost all the polling station or polling units than accredited voters. But because the court said that the card reader was unknown to law, those votes stood. In reality, Okowa's votes were completely void. He didn't win that election with valid votes, no. We won two local governments because it was fixed, not because he won them. And then you could see that now with what played out in the elections of last week or 2 weeks ago, where Okowa, being the vice presidential candidate of that party, was not able to win his state. That's what happened. That's exactly the reality on ground. If there's a credible election in Delta State, PDP will not get anything. This state is not a PDP state. It's been misconceived for a long time. Yes, PDP had been able to stay in power by violence, by crooked means, and by all sorts of subterfuge. But the truth of the matter is that the people of Delta State are progressives. They don't believe in the kind of politics they play in that party. So I expect that with the obedient movement, which is definitely APGA compliant, we think that on the 18th, PDP will definitely find their way out of government. That's for is certain. They cannot win this election.
All right, Chief Ogboru, when you started your campaign, one key thing that you said was that there will not be any opportunity for rigging because of beavers. You have made reference to what happened on the 25th of February and how that may have, caused some disaffection and, worries by people on the sincerity and the competence of INEC. What is your overall assessment of what happened on the 25th of February? If there are issues, but on the other hand, you are also applauding the fact that PDP lost. But then if you're saying that there were issues with elections and beavers possibly didn't perform optimally, how then was PDP able to lose to the obedient movement and the fact that people, majority of the people wanted some change?
Okay, I will explain. The process of election starts from accreditation. At the accreditation level, the beavers worked very well. It made sure that only those who were accredited by beavers were accredited. And then there was voting. People voted, and their results were put in the Form EC8A in some instances. In some instances, because of connivance, they said the results were not ready, the result sheet was not available. And then where it was available, they were not uploaded. Now, that has created a major flaw in the guidelines given by INEC. The collation now became a matter of self-help. What was reportedly entered into the Form EC8A at the units may not have been what was collated, because by the INEC guidelines, you had to verify the figures being collated with the transmitted results to the INEC portal. But now those results were being, those collations were being made without reference to double check if they were right or wrong. So you saw what happened eventually was that collation now took place from about 5 p.m. on election day to Monday. That tells you that something was definitely wrong. Collation in a ward or in a local government shouldn't take more than 2 or 3 or 4 hours, especially with the system INEC put in place. But when it started to take place over 3-4 days, you realize that there was foul play taking place. So the fact that beavers worked for accreditation gives us confidence. If INEC will upload those results from the units like they said they would, certainly then the process works, because there is something to verify or something to act as a check or a benchmark to look at the figures being collated. But what happened in that previous election meant that the collation was extremely flawed. I think that is something we have to watch against. And I think INEC has to make sure in this coming election that they upload the results from the units. If that is done, I think that INEC may be able to restore part of its lost credibility.
All right. I would like to probably ask that question again. How much confidence does APGA have in INEC delivering a free, fair, and credible election come the 18th of this month? One. And my second question is this. Political analysts looking at how things are playing out in Delta State are saying that at the moment, it's between Sheriff and Omo Agege, that both the PDP, it's almost like a two-horse race between the PDP and the APC. What do you have to say to that? Because a lot of people don't seem to be bringing you into the picture as much as the PDP and the APC. Talk to us about this.
Well, if you watch the elections in 2011 and then the rerun election in 2010, it was also the same thing. You had to put so much money in the press to suppress public opinion. Yes, okay, in fact, let's take the recent example. Oh, Labour Party had no chance, Obedient had no structure, they could not win anything. But look at the results. So it is misinformation in the public. Now, I didn't start campaign early because I felt it was unnecessary. We know the candidates, we know the parties, and we know the people. We felt that coming into campaign late, we will still be able to achieve what we wanted to achieve. So they didn't give us a chance. But we have campaigned now for over 2 months vigorously. And they can see that the tide has changed. Like I told you earlier on, the Obedient movement that swept the polls in Delta State are 80% APGA compliant. So if you took 80% of the Obedient vote and gave to APGA, we have won the election.
What's Labour are in the running in Delta State, so it's not like Labour do not have a candidate in Delta State. How do you just oppose that?
No. Let me tell you what is happening. I was in the Labour Party, don't forget that. You actually alluded to the fact that previously we had moved from one party to another. Yes, we said yes. But most of the people, almost all the chairmen of Labour Party have worked with us before. Almost all of them. Almost all the chairmen of Labour Party in Delta State had worked with us, either in the DPP or in Labour Party itself. And they didn't find us in any way doing any wrong. We only left because they said that we should go to a bigger party, like I told you. That's why we left the Labour Party. So a lot of those people still have their sympathy and their loyalty to our cause. They are members of our political family. The chairman of Labour Party in Delta State had been our chairman in DPP and in Labour Party, and he's still the chairman of the party till today. So the overall thinking here is that neither PDP nor APC should get the governorship. It should go to a neutral party, and that's where we're coming. I believe that with the support base from Delta State, I believe with the loyalty which we command in the opposition in Delta State, I believe that the governorship elections on the 18th will definitely sway our way.
Does that in any way suggest that there might be a kind of alliance between yourself and Kempela, the candidate of the Labour Party for the governorship election?
Our contract is to the people of Delta State, and we are looking at the people of Delta State holistically. One segment of that, the Delta State electorate is the Labour Party or the followership of that party. But it's the entire Delta State that we are looking at. Kempela as an individual, well, he's our friend, he's our younger brother. We will not be having any alliance with him at all. No, we will not.
Okay.
But we'll be talking to the people of Delta State who know their roots, who know where they came from, and who know what the topical issues are in Delta State, who understand the imperatives of change and proper change. That's what we have campaigned for all of these years, to create an alternative to the ruling party. To come on to ride on the back of the obedient movement, I think it's actually been too opportunistic. We have been in the struggle for change for over 20 years in this state. And if there's going to be change in this state, the rightful persons to take them are those of us who are in APGA today, because we have been consistent in saying no to the idiosyncrasies of the PDP in this state.
All right, Chief Ogboru, one of the interviews that you granted recently, you said that Delta State is a high-profile state and therefore requires the handling of a high-profile governor. And you said that you are most suitable to be that high-profile person. And I'm wondering, is that high-profile nature of yours not the albatross that has been working against you since 2003 in actualizing your desire to be the governor of Delta State, given the role that you played in 1990 during the Gideon Oka coup? Yes, popular you may be, but then can people or can the establishment trust you with power, given the role that you played in 1990 during that coup, which was what eventually led the former head of state at that time, General Babangida, to hurriedly move, to leave Lagos and move to Abuja, you know, as the Federal Capital Territory. Can you be trusted with power?
Well, you can see, sometimes people make these kind of statements about 1990 and all of that. We have shown by character, by consistency, that we are Democrats. We have shown that we are not riding on the wave of an incident that took place on a particular day in 1990. We have shown over the years that we believe in democracy and that we want to deepen democracy in Nigeria, not only in Delta State. We believe that the best form of leadership or the best form of governance is democracy. The issue of 1990 military coup and all, those had nothing to do with what we are talking about now. Whether the government it's not the government that should entrust me with power, it's the people of Nigeria or the people of Delta State that should entrust me with power, not the government of the day. I hope you get that clearly. So I think we have to make a separation between what happened under a military regime and what is happening today. Under a military regime, which of course, as you know, was an aberration, people did certain things, and some of them not so good, some not very good, some good. But the end result of that exercise was that all the charges against me were dropped by the federal government, which was gazetted. And that is because they came to the conclusion that it was not worthy of the government to implicate me in the way they wanted to do. So I don't think there is a correlation between 1990 and the democratic pursuit which we are having today. I think we have to jettison that issue completely. And in any case, that's an issue that took place over 30 years ago. Between 30 years and today, 32 years precisely and today, have you found any Ogboru doing anything wrong? No. We have been consistent in following the laid down procedures by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And I think that's what matters. We have gone to the courts more time than any other person in this country in seeking justice. And that is the way to go. Nobody has been able to say that Great Ogboru has armed people to go and snatch ballot boxes or giving talks, paid talks to go and disrupt an election, or tried in fact to try to rig an election. So those are the things that count. Our reaction to circumstances must be situation specific, and we must get that clear. Thank you very much.
All right, Chief Ogboru, not to overstate your influence, you brought the Deputy Senate President Ovedje Ogboru to the Senate. What happened that is now running against you?
Ogboru, yes, he came to meet us in the Labour Party, and he won an election under our leadership. We went to the alliance, the APC. He also won that election under our leadership. He felt he could do better, and so he wants to be governor. So the people of Delta State will have to decide that. I'm not into discussing personal issues of what happened and what didn't happen. The important thing is that we have a manifesto which we are presenting to the people of Delta State, and I'm sure he has his. Let the people decide. That's what we are saying.
Are you basically squaring up against the perceived godfathers of politics in Delta State? Talking about James Ibori, who was a candidate, as you know, in this election, and of course the current governor, who is the vice president, who was the vice presidential candidate of the PDP, who's being considered as a godfather, on his own. One, are you squaring up against them so that you can take over the reins as the ultimate godfather in Delta? And then secondly, perhaps more importantly, what will you do differently as the governor of Delta State if you win next Saturday?
Well, godfatherism has no place in politics. We have to discontinue that mentality. The time has come when we have to give the people of our country the right to choose their leaders unfettered. So when you talk about my brother James Ibori, or the sitting governor there is also my brother Ifeanyi Okowa, being godfathers, they were godfathers to themselves, and you saw what happened. Now, over 70% of the PDP has moved into the APC, and then they are suffocating the current members of the APC. So there's going to be, a movement of people out of the APC to somewhere else. I think that imbroglio actually is going to lead to an implosion that will affect the election. Both parties are going to lose. As to what I will do differently when I become the governor of this state, I have a manifesto which is clearly saying that Delta State has to move from where it is today to a different level. In this manifesto, which we call the Jubilee Agenda, we enumerated a 7-point agenda, which encapsulates the 17-point agenda of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And we are saying that by the time this agenda is implemented in Delta State will witness such a transformation that like never before. And that not only are we going to have development in infrastructure, in the economy, in the human capital resources, we are going to have overall development in the way we do things, in our value system. Now, let me speak about this. Here, we realize that we are not able to understand the peculiarities of the problems in all of the communities. So we're saying, as a government, we have a special purpose vehicle, which we have called the Equal Opportunity Local Government Development Initiative. And by this initiative, we are saying that create a board and let that board be the vehicle to reach the people in their communities. And that board should be in each of the 25 local governments in Delta State. And because the governor is not all-knowing, what we should do is to provide resources for that board, for the development of that local government, the communities therein. And we have earmarked for that purpose on a monthly basis, not less than 200 million naira every month goes to that board. That is a game changer. We have looked at the indices. If 200 million naira goes to each of the local governments every month, and that money is judiciously applied to developmental purposes, then what you are going to have is simultaneous development across the state uniformly. And most importantly, it puts money in circulation in each of those local governments, which is something that's not happening today. Again, we have also said that for the purpose of this, the program will be local government specific, which means it is the people in that local government who must benefit directly from that amount of money, that 200 billion. And they have to decide what they want to do, how they want to do it, when they want to do it. If they want to choose to collaborate between local governments for a particular purpose, they will be allowed to so do. In any case, realizing also that there is a lacuna in the developmental stride of our youths, we have said that this program will be dedicated to youths. So this management of the local government development boards will be strictly restricted to persons between the ages of 20 and 40. Again, this is preparing people for leadership at a higher level. So some of the people who will become state leaders will actually be people who have managed the local government development boards. But the most important thing in all of this is that people have a sense of belonging. And as the United Nations put it, no one is left behind. That is what we are trying to do. Doesn't matter whether you are big or you are small, at least you have a minimum position of receiving 200 million naira to develop your own place. And the communities, the leaders of the community, will come and sit down with the board and decide what they want to do. The youths will implement it. So I think that is a game changer. In any case, we have also said that Delta State is an oil-producing state. Delta State has no investment at all in that sector. And what is happening is we have crude oil, but we have to import petrol and subsidize it. We think that we can do better. Collaborating with the federal government, Delta State wants to invest in critical areas where we have comparative advantage. Oil and gas, marine, agriculture, we have to do that. We cannot want to become a liberal economist when we have no capital. We have to help our people by partnering with them to develop until such a time comes when we can see that adequately people are prepared for the capitalist free market economy. As it were today, our people are too poor to be part of that economy. It needs a strong interventionist government to come and help the people out of the situation we find ourselves. That is my take on this. In any case, I would want to commend this to you. Read it. There's a 7-point agenda there, which takes care of the environment, agriculture, education, health, and the other two I mentioned earlier on. Of course, there's human capital development there also.
Chief Great Ogboru, we want to say thank you very much for appearing on The Morning Show.